Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 105th episode of Book of Hours, playing as the artist. I think I had said this before, but I have now achieved I think it would kind of count as a major victory under as the Twiceborn. So this is my first run as the artist without having beaten the game as the artist, but I have now seen an ending for the game. I will also just sort of say at the start, it feels like I'm always doing a preface like this each week, but these are less than ideal circumstances that I'm recording under, so my tablet seems to have broken. I'm going to be going to the store to see if I can get it repaired, but I suspect it's not recoverable. So that means I'm down one of my main sources of notes for these broadcasts, and I'm probably going to have to break the week's recording up over two sessions, basically. The ones before I head out to try and get this thing fixed, and the ones afterwards. And then, of course, that's on top of all of the disruptions, the new workplace and all of that. Although I have a lot of work to do at the new job, but I definitely feel like I wound up in the right place. So I hope you are all well, but I know that it's going to be a little bumpy for the next couple of days just because my usual source for little memories or little, there's going to be a little bit of repetition in terms of trying to figure out what I can do. That's unfortunately just a side effect of the circumstances that I'm recording under. So, we are talking with Mrs. Kill. Now, I think at some point I had considered Mr. Kill with Winter, although I also seem to recall that I was one short. This is the frustrating part, is that I feel like I might have worked out something, or maybe it was Skywise. But yeah, I'm feeling like there was something that I could have done as far as memories go. In fact, I feel a little funny starting off with some note-taking, but let me take a moment here and jot down what I can do Skywise. So we would start with one from Mr. Kill, and then we would get one from the Fost. So we know we can get 4 from the Storm. Now that's the same for Heart as well, but we don't really have any Heart rooms. So that gives us a total of 6. And then the Mazarine Fife gives us 7. Or, sorry, it gives us 3. So that's 1, 2, 6, 9. At which point... Oh yeah, no, I seem to remember the problem here. So we do have a Sky Beverage, but I believe it's a Sky Beverage that only gives me 1 Sky. So we can get up to 10, but we can't go any further. However, I think there is a reasonable argument to be made that if we put the effort in, we can probably make some kind of music to get us up to a higher level there. And I think that was going to be my focus moving forward. Now, the one little bit of a drag that I have here is that the timers are always... Yeah, so here we go. We're actually already making the Ascendant Harmony. So yes, this is exactly what we were doing. All right, well, let's let the timers run down just so we can see where things are at, and then I'll make my choices accordingly. So I think the deal here would be the Ascendant Harmony wouldn't be enough, but the Ascendant Harmony might be enough for us. Or actually, wait a minute. Yeah, the Wind and Waiting is probably the one that I'm thinking of, but the Ascendant Harmony we could turn into a Daidumos, and then I think, depending on the circumstances, we might be able to produce a Wind and Waiting. Alright, there it is in Camino Tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. Okay, so with Keeper level Sky and Ascendant Harmony might conjure a Daidumos. So this thing is right now basically the same as a the same as a store for me. However, or storm for me. However, the important thing to remember is that I can still use the storm memory. So here is an example of the sort of thing I might try to put together. Now I'm going to be down the fife, so I could still be short on what I need. But let's take the Trist as an example. So we can apply this with the piano. So what I could do here is I could take the Ascendant Harmony, and then we would add that with, let's say, the Storm. Now I don't think well, first of all, Drums and Dances doesn't have Sky. All right, so that creates a small problem here, but let's work this through to the end. So we would be up to 10. A storm would bring us up to 14, and then another element of the soul would bring us up to... Okay. So I think tomorrow we'll see if we can go for a more ambitious sky memory. This isn't necessarily my favorite way of being able to produce this sort of stuff. However, it is also worth noting that this is basically an expense in terms of time. I don't need to worry about... I don't really need to worry about something like... sorry, I'm just trying to think of the right way to put this. Like, I don't need to worry about losing special... I don't need to worry about, like, losing a really valuable item like, say, the Sacrament Assite. Now, it also occurred to me that winter-wise, I probably have a little more that I can work with than I thought before. So I'm going to do the same exercise with winter. So with Mr. Kill, Mr. Kill's getting a lot of work here. So we've got 2 from him for winter. And then we've got 2 from the Whist. Now, theoretically, we could get 6 from Wormwood Dream. So that's 2, 4, 10. So then the Lunar Globe would give us 1. And then at that point, we would consider Solomon's Preparation. So really, we can go up to 15 winter if things work in our favor. So with that... Yeah, so we need 13 for winter, 12 for winter. I would say we should be focusing on getting that Wormwood Dream. Now, easier said than done, because we need the Edict's Marshal here. So if we... the Harp is probably the better call here. So the challenge with the Edict's Marshal is that I need to generate 10 moon to make this work. So we've got the Trist like so. So we've got 4 to start off with, but we would need another 6. Now the good news is that omens and memories are available here. So the funny thing is that on its own, I'm actually in a bit of trouble. So the clouds might help out. I think what might wind up working out here is... Oh, no, hang on. Yeah. Because this isn't an omen, I actually think I'm coming up short. Okay, so we won't worry about music, but the Nocturnary might have something else. Okay, so with one of those, we would apply the Edict's Marshal. We would apply the Trist, so memory works for us here. So memory... I would want a memory and either a pigmented device, an omen, or wood. So we have the same... kind of the same problem. And we don't have moon altars. We don't have access to moon altars, so that doesn't do the trick for us. Interesting. I don't know why I think I'm gonna find something in the solar areas to help out. So I might be a little more constrained than I thought I was, which is funny because for some reason I was under the impression that it was easier for me to produce a I thought it was easier for me to produce a Wormwood Dream than it turns out. So maybe what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take a minute with the... Just kind of mousing over. I want to see if there's a big obvious moon input. So I'm a little reluctant to use the fish just because they're helpful in other ways. The Eigengrau is a little different. The Eigengrau is something that I can give up, but the problem with that is that it's a single moon, so it's not the sort of thing that I would really want to throw into a recipe unless, you know, it's my last resort. The Hawthorn and the yew don't do the trick. Lignum vitae, I think, is edge and nectar. It's very helpful, but it's just short. Actually, I guess in this case here, the Perilous Imago might be the trick. Well, it's the Perilous Imago, or we try something with the Stimfling. The more I think of it, the more I think I'm actually going to try. So the problem here is I don't remember the recipe. So if I recall correctly, there is a way of getting the Stimfling to, you know, just for the sake of the argument, I'm going to add the... Yeah, this will be the highest moon I can apply. So we've got 6. So I'm going to need to somehow develop 9 between these two. This is going to be a nightmare. Okay, so Sickle and Eclipse. We're 1 short. Ah, hang on. Nope. That's still just 2. Yeah, I'm a lot further behind than I thought in terms of being able to generate Wormwood Dreams. So there's a couple of things that seem clear to me. So number 1, it's the... So I definitely need to go for memories on this one. So it's either music or the Noctonary that let me do that. If I can't find an omen, then I need to find moon music, which I don't think I have. And right now, the only thing I can really count on is the 4 moon. That is a puzzle. Okay. I know I've got a couple of other things kicking around, like, I don't have the Curious Hunch anymore, so maybe I should be... Actually, I guess I'm making that right now. There could be a few other things that I can use to give myself a bit of an edge, but the real trick right now is going to be to try and find a way to build some moon things that make me more effective. So perhaps I should go back to the original plan, which was to... Yeah, actually, you know what? Okay, so the more I think of it, pigments are probably something I should... Oh, yeah, the Asmiel is an unexpected factor. Unfortunately, it's in the wrong slot. So if we did... So here's what I'm thinking here. We've got something like Edict's Martial. I'll just add the old wound for the sake of the example. So if we add the Asmiel in here, this works very well in terms of creating the Wormwood Dream, but then I'm down this very powerful moon ink. So then, of course, the natural answer is, well, how do we wind up making the Asmiel? So that might be a Inks of Containment thing. Do I even have... Given its power, I wouldn't be surprised if that wound up being some kind of keeper level recipe. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of trivial to say, okay, if I have a very powerful moon component, I can build moon things, but that's not exactly the reason why we build the way that we build. So the better answer for me right now is just to see what I can get from my existing resources, particularly with regard to the Curious Hunch. There 'tis and can be no tizzer, as Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. The other thing, too, is once we hit a foggy day, I'm going to be able to convert some of that, either knock or moon, into something else, so we're not completely lost. But I think right now the better path for me to take is to just try and see what things I can construct out of my existing recipes. An afternoon spent profitably reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters to the lonely, steering farmers through the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. I also think at this point I'm going to... I'm sorry, I got a new headphone cable, but it actually seems to be working worse than the other one. There we go. Okay. I think in this case we're just going to dump the elements of the soul into the sweet bones. It's not like we really need the money, but if I get desperate in terms of hirelings, all of this money is going to become quite helpful. The Moth's Gift, or Mine. A Curious Hunch, a sudden unlikely certainty. So 4 knock, 3 lantern, 3 moth, and 3 heart. So I'm just trying to think if that has... I think its most immediate effect would be potentially opening something up knock-wise here. So probably should have guessed the cell. So that's a Reverend Timothy job. So let's just take a minute to write down what we're trying to do here. So we get 1 from Reverend Timothy. So we would get 2 from a Curious Hunch. Sorry, did I say 2 or 4? 4, if I didn't say that before. We don't have a knock tool, so that wouldn't be available. We do have the sacrament. Oh, but we do have Shapt. So that's 1, 5, 7. So Sacrament Asite would be 6. That gives us 13. So that gives us 1 more than what we need for the sealed cell. So it's an expensive way to go in there, but I actually think that would be my best option given what I have right now. And I guess under normal circumstances, I would consider how I might go about making another Sacrament Asite, but I think I'll just cash out my existing elements of the soul and we'll carry on for the day. I suppose the other thing that I could do is take some of these memories and try to build something out of them. So let's do a quick audit. We'll start with Grail. So if I take my Arab, which is already at a plus, so we've got satisfaction that we can work with here. So what we really want to focus on are pretty much any of the Grail things I can throw at it. And we kind of already did this, so I don't want to spend the whole day on it. Now I think we've got more than enough Ruby-wise Ruin. Yeah, it's tempting to build something like that, but you don't want to go completely overboard. Although I am interested in the fact that I apparently wasn't able to make Sacrament Callicite out of that. So I'm trying to remember what Desires and Dissolutions was now. I should fill this up with everything I can, so the Fragrant Chalice ought to do the trick. Okay, yeah, there's the Ruby-wise Ruin, Guiling Melody. So basically anything with Grail we should be... Oh, there we go. So I suppose if I ever wind up in a point where I need really high Grail, we're good, but... Oh yeah, so with that in mind, I shouldn't be... Okay, so Great Signs and Great Scars. Tradis Mahaira is the next one I got. Or no, Pentiments and Precursors. Now this is interesting. Okay, so this is about the fabric. Tradis Mahaira. Okay. This presumably is also about... yeah, fabric. I don't dislike the Momets, I just don't have a use for them right now. Okay. Yeah, it's funny. Normally, some of this Grail stuff that I've been looking for would be, oh, it's wonderful, you know, I can make so much with them. But I suppose as the artist, I just have a very different set of priorities to work with. So that's nice. That's got me some basics down. I think one thing that might be instructive is if I try and do the same thing for Edge. Although I know my Edge options are quite a bit more limited. So it's all well and good for me to mess around with the Foundry, but the memories that I have for Edge right now are not that exciting. We're not without them though, so... okay, so for Metal... that's not an easy one to deal with. Again, I'm not crazy about the steel wire here, but I think I'm really short on options. But I can at least put the Princulate in. So this is more This is more exploratory, but I figure it's not a bad idea for me to just take a peek at some of the edgy things that I can get done. Okay, so Cyclone Eclipse. Well, there we go. There's my Serpent Milk. Actually, yeah, so with that in mind... So I do actually already have Serpent Milk that I can use down here. But it's probably better that I keep the Princulate just because it's... that is actually an ingredient for high-level Edge items. Okay, so there's the winning move. I suppose if it really comes down to it, I can make the winning move and then eventually the higher level one, the Invincible Audacity, but I don't think winning moves are persistent memories. So it's a little less exciting to throw those into recipes. It's definitely not the sort of thing that I would get rid of the Princulate for. Okay. So that's Arab spoken for, unless I'd like to try and get some sort of memory out of that. I don't have anything else to do with it. Let's try the same story with Heart now. So that's going to be using Core. Now, we do have a couple of stronger Heart memories to work with. I think the Curious Hunch is the one that I want here. The Matter is another question. I guess the Heart is still the best one there. And then Ruby-Wise Ruin in this case would be the... is it though? I suppose it is. Okay, that's not the most exciting, but let's work with what we've got. Ah, yes. Okay, Gideon Soaks are probably a better option here, actually. Are they ever? So weaving and not working, I'm not expecting any miracles out of this one. Drums and dances. We kind of have everything that we needed. Although Thunderskin's Paean might have its own merits as far as a memory goes. Nothing too exciting there. This presumably is like weaving and not working. Herbs and infusions, strings and songs, and Magaphine mysteries. Okay, it doesn't look like there's anything to... I suspect I've done some of this already, but... Oh. They want this at an instrument. Makes sense. Yeah, okay. So I don't think there's much for us to do heart-wise. Like, we do have some things that are fairly strong heart-wise. We just don't really have the need for the heart right now. So we'll set that aside. Now, I don't think it would hurt to try some scale and nectar things, although that I'm by far the most short on. It's not hard for me to make an old moment. It is hard for me to keep an old moment, though. But let's do our best. Now, the scale is a tricky one because it's really the nocturnary, or no, not even the nocturnary. I think it's really just the kitchen range and then the desks that really let me do scale things with. So with that in mind, the pale desk is my best option for that. So the earth sign will give me some scale to work with. The papers, I think I just need to write that off, but I can make it back by using the perinculate here because that'll give me a 4 scale. So this is really just, you know, what's gonna be available. Okay, so parabate's nothing. I mean, we have it already. It's not, I'm not doing backwards cartwheels over the thing, but this is interesting. So I could see myself doing this at some point in the future. Okay, glassfinger, another way of making glassfinger toxins, not the worst. We already know how to make the old moment. Go through his cordials for free, apparently. So yeah, I mean, it's not the most exciting thing in the world to discover how to make the level 5 mark. I'll be completely honest, I haven't really found that many uses for the marks. They do get used in altars, but the problem is that there are other, like, the altars usually just have other priorities, or you just have other things that you're trying to do, so they don't always work out the way that you hope, at least for me. So I can try... Oh, I thought I could try... Right, sorry, I'm looking for inks, not liquids. But the dispensary allows me to mess around with a little bit more nectar-wise. Now, one thing to remember about using things like the Sacrament Malachite, that is helpful in some ways, but the thing to remember is that destination, like the keeper... I call them destination, but like... Keeper level recipes aren't the most informative when you're just sort of window shopping in terms of the sorts of things that you can create, and that's because it's the last destination. So a good example about what I'm talking about would be, let's say that I had, well, you know, actually the fragrant chalice is a good example. You know, it's a flower. I know it gets used in Ruby Wise Ruin, so if I have that in the slot and then I attempt to use it, essentially what happens is I can say, all right, well, this item here wound up giving me, you know, I don't know, this powerful result, and now I know another way of getting it. So in particular, for being able to find something like Glassfinger Toxin or a Sacrament Acite, that might mean that I have an easier path to get that thing that I really want. In the case of Sacrament Malachite, it's very helpful because it gives a large amount of nectar, but I know that it's not going to be something that can turn into something else, as opposed to, say, honey. So both the cuckoo honey and the regular honey can be turned into something more advanced, more powerful. So actually, we can give an example of that here. I don't think Rights of the Roots has it, but... So, again, the trade-off here would be... Although I am curious with the Lethe, because Lethe might have 2 nectar. That was worth a try. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to keep the Lethe in here just for a laugh. Okay. Found out how to make the same thing again. I'm happy enough to see or to hear the discovery sound, so it tells me that I'm not wasting my time doing this. It's not a coincidence that I've lost my tablet and I'm now putting the time in on this. Now this one's interesting. Oh, if I add the wood, interesting. That's not going to work. Neither is that. Okay, well that's going to be something for me to work with later. This is one that's worth keeping track of just because the lignum vitae block isn't... Like, it's not impossible to get. Oh, actually, we can do that now. All right, let's see... Let's see what happens if we change the entries around a little bit. Again, I'm not expecting miracles here. This is just one small change, but it is something that we've been given an indicator in the game. Has me. There we go. Pyrus Orichalcinius. Oh, sorry. Orichalcinius. This is a pair that you can get in Numa. Usually if you are not as tight-fisted as I am. And I believe that particular pair you can use to... you can use to make the Sacrament Malachite. Now again, there's a question in terms of what I'm giving up, willing to give up in order to achieve that. But it's still a nice one for me to say, okay, you know, I know. It's essentially what I'm doing here is I'm building up some components that will allow me to eventually say, all right, I am now willing to give up the Sacrament Malachite, you know, and that'll let me go into the Weald-filled Spring or the Mist-sunk Meadow. We're heading into autumn where we'll have someone with a higher level of nectar as well. I don't think I'm ready to do that yet, but being able to generate pairs like that, it's one of those cases where I at least want to keep the possibility in mind. Now, I'm more or less out of time. I do think at some point I was going to be messing around with these books, but I do like the idea of trying to make some things happen crafting-wise. So my one small regret here is that we haven't actually made any progress. Well, we've made some progress, but we haven't actually finished the day. But I have got some foundations for some steps that I'm going to be taking tomorrow game time, obviously, in terms of unlocking a new room with Reverend Timothy. And then we've also got a few more ideas in terms of how we can approach future problems. And again, that's before I unlock the quote-unquote easy path of bringing in some more specialist help. But as always, thank you very much for watching. A reminder, tomorrow is the sort of off day for the broadcast, so no video for Tuesday, but I will be back on Wednesday with the continuation of this series. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.